Right, welcome back. Week 2 of what I'm calling, the Ground Up Challenge. As I try and build a solution to small farming in the UK, and as I try and discover the solution to small local food production in the UK. The goal is to build networks of small producers working together to gain economies of scale and be able to spin up cooperatives really easily. In doing so, creating jobs, creating healthy food, and just offering an alternative to the world that is out there currently, which is quite doom and gloom right now. We'll go through the 3 pillars that I work on to try and bring this change about, and those are the farm. And so what we're doing here is running a small chicken farm. We've currently got 350 laying hens. We're trying to get up to 650. We were trying to get to 1,000, but depending on how this year goes, we will figure that out on the way. The second is social media, and trying to build a following here on any other social media platform, and the impacts and the nuances there, and we'll talk through that. And then finally, the development of the platform itself and the solution. The first draft of that is ongoing, and I'm still doing. That's what I'm spending most of my time doing at the moment. I'll get into that in a second. So on the farm this week, we were running the cow MOT on Thursday, which is a bit overdue, but it basically is just getting all the cows through the crush and just checking them over, trimming them, especially this time of year, making sure that their tails are nice and trim, and making sure they're healthy, getting all of their weights. I think we've got a bit of a mite problem, so we demited them, which is not necessarily the right time of year, but they've got mites. It seems to be, we've got mites in the chickens as well, so it wouldn't be surprising, but we can see where they're scratching. So we mited them, we got them all through. It was good practice for the younger cows who haven't been through the crush that often. The bull in particular was quite hard work, but yeah, it went pretty well. We got all of the cows through in about 45 minutes. There's 14 of them out there, which we're pretty happy with. We're just starting to try and find more grazing for the year as well. We were also down at a neighbour in the village. I think she wants us to graze it sooner than we will be able to, and it'll be a real test for the collars because there's no fencing. It's in the middle of nowhere, there's no water, so it's probably the more advanced of the grazing that we want to get to. We've got a load locally here that we're going to start with, and we're going to reseed some of it, but that is our big plan. And I've been really reflecting on the sustainability of these animals, cattle, chickens, and there's a big part to say that we shouldn't be eating as much animal products as we are, and I'm a big advocate for that. I also strongly believe that animals play a strong part in our ecosystems, and therefore to try and create farming on a scale, whatever scale that will be, animals have a place within that. So I've been really reflecting on the tiers of those animals, and beef in particular, grass-fed beef. Now, there are lots of studies into the release of methane, the water use, and the trouble is different parties challenge different parts. Some say beef's one of the most sustainable things that we can produce and eat. Others say it's the worst. So it's quite an extreme there. And you've got people saying that there's cattle propaganda from Big Cow trying to take everyone down, which, to be honest with you, there will be some truth in that. There's a lot of money in beef, in dairy, and so therefore there will be invested interest and protection of that. And then you've got the other side, who are people that are advocating for animal rights, and they are on the extreme opposite end of that. I'm somewhere in the middle, trying to understand, is there actually a way you can run cattle? Because they are machines in terms of you can just feed them grass, 100% grass, feed them grass, give them access to water, and they turn that into protein and produce incredible fertiliser along the way. So I was comparing that to chickens. Chickens need a hell of a lot of input in the form of grain, and I was reflecting that actually if we can get to a point where we can produce and raise our chickens on the waste grain from local farms, and so we actually get a lot of waste wheat from down the road and pay a cost price for it, then chickens would be more sustainable rather than producing crops to then feed to the chickens. Another space I'm really interested in is black soldier fly larvae or any other form of bug that then decomposes our waste food into food for the chickens. That kind of space where we can make chickens more sustainable. But right now we produce maize, we produce soy for them, produce a lot of wheat, and then we feed it to the chickens, who then lay us eggs, who lovely eggs. However, it's not the most sustainable route. Anyway, I digress. Speaking of chickens, they're laying pretty well. 128 eggs a day, pretty much on average from L2, but highest is 129, so we're still chasing that 130. L1's not doing so well. There's a few more in molt in there, and have also got mites. I've been battling the mite, and I think I'm getting on top of it in there, but they're not laying terribly well. They seem healthy and happy. in themselves, but they're just not laying any eggs, which means there's something wrong. Unfortunately, due to bird flu, I got a message from my provider, the same provider that lost the flock last time, to tell me that the 300 birds I'd ordered for March aren't going to be available. So I've got to find an alternative to that, which is going to be difficult, especially listening around is that seems to be quite common at the moment. A lot of providers not being able to get their birds out. I'd imagine I'll probably just try and find some hybrids, or just whatever I can get my hands on, to be honest with you. But I need to push that envelope, otherwise we're going to be stuck at this 350 mark, which is not enough money to make a living, but too many chickens for it to be a hobby. So I've got to push past the envelope. Cash in that regard, still struggling a little bit. It's better than it was, but I'm still not making enough money in time to then put an order into moles to get, it's like 450 quid each time I order 50 sacks of food. I haven't got the size of infrastructure that we can take direct from the mills, and so the feed is still as a premium, but 450 quid, which you should be able to make with the eggs if we sell them all, we're still struggling to make, just because we're getting so many smalls, and therefore I'm not selling them in quantities because I also need more customers. I'm doing surprisingly well with all that. It has hit me harder in the past, but right now I'm pretty invested in developing the platform, and so therefore really knuckled down, to be honest with you, and that is going to be a problem I have to face alongside all of it. My personal finance situation's even dire state, so much so that I've got a friend's wedding in August on the Isle of Wight, and my friends are organising that, and had to really consider whether I'd be able to go, just to be able to afford to stay 2 nights and travel down to Isle of Wight, which I've been incredibly privileged up until this point in my life to not have to worry from that extremity before, and so now being able to really discover I'm at a real make or break point. If I don't make a go of this in the next 3-4 months, I'm going to really struggle emotionally, but more financially and physically in terms of actually getting this done. So yeah, I've got to continue working as like I am at the moment, and just get it done. Moving on to this number 2, social media. I've done absolutely nothing on TikTok, Instagram. The only thing I've posted social media wise is that video I did of week 1 here, which I'm not too fussed about. I've realised that TikTok itself, the platform, is quite fickle, and so staying away is actually better than releasing content that people aren't really interested in. I know a lot of people like the consistency of come collect eggs with me, and I will return probably at the beginning of February. Right now I'm just ultra focused on getting this tech built, which we then can move on to number 2. Number 3 is the development of this platform. Now I thought we could actually jump in and give you a bit of a, if I remember how to do the shortcut. Right, I thought I'd actually give you a bit of a understanding of what we're doing. So the platform to begin with is just going to be Shopify-esque. It's nothing more than an e-commerce platform, to be honest with you, but it is going to be very tailored for producers, and particularly food producers. The goal being we can then plug them all in together as we go. I recently discovered, and anyone that has developed will notice this immediately, recently discovered that GitHub's primer, basically their UI design, I really like how GitHub flows, and the way, not only the workflows but also the way it looks, and so when I discovered that its design was open source, I immediately jumped at the opportunity. So the goal is someone can come in and manage this, can run this similar to how you do it in Shopify, nothing particularly special at this point, but effectively you run it by merchant basis, and it allows you to manage all of your products, orders, inventory. For us, our products can connect to each other. This is like, I've torn down the UI that I built before and rebuilding it just because I need to get a proper UI out by the end of this month. So I've torn it all down, and this is very basic, just a straw man version, just to show us what it might look like, and just sort of play around with some of these tables and what it looks like, which I'm really liking. I'm really pleased with this, and that allows you to then jump between the different merchants that you might have. So I'm really happy with that. It's nothing special in terms of the actual UI, and actually, but mostly the API is there. Struggling and battling between making it simple enough such that it doesn't overcomplicate itself, but also at the same time it's got to have the architecture to be able to scale to do what I wanted to do, which is basically run to be able to scale to do what I wanted to do, which is basically run, cooperatives and allow them all plug in together. So like things like delivery routes, managing different legs of delivery, stuff that you wouldn't really want to start with on your first draft of an e-commerce platform, but it is fundamental to actually how we scale it. A lot of it I know won't be actually used because I've built software before, and when you build what you want, the user won't use it. So I've got to make sure that I don't run too far with building stuff. I make sure I build the core. I've got a briefing from the farmer in Finland and what he will be using. I'm hoping to meet a few more people over the next couple of weeks. I've got a meeting this week. I've got 2 meetings this week, and then I'm hoping to go and visit some farms as well and see some other producers that I know do very similar things to what I do, and so encourage them to be able to work with me. So currently we've got 0 merchants on the platform, live users, and we've got 0 live transactions. We're not even live yet, so that's not surprising, and I doubt we will be by next week. But by beginning of February, I'm looking to have live users, and that probably through myself to begin with, because I'll be moving my platform, which is currently on Shopify, over to this. I'm really enjoying it. It's going pretty well so far. Like I said last week, I'd like to think a step up from vibe coding. I kind of know what I'm doing, but at the same time, I can't write code at the speed that these LLMs can. I have also run out of tokens on pretty much. Currently use Codex, which I must say is falling further and further behind the rest. I use Claude, and then I use Copilot, and then Claude through Copilot. Interestingly, the Claude native coding app in VS Code, at least, does not work as well as the Copilot one. And I think that's just because how well it's integrated. Copilot is integrated into VS Code. So I've actually doubled down on Copilot, and I'm paying the premium there, which is pretty much where all of my money each month go onto tokens. But really enjoying that. I'm still working the same way, still writing briefs, working through the brief together with the bot. Life in general okay at the moment. It's hard work. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to being part of a team again. I'm very, very fortunate to be able to work with mum and dad and have mum and dad support me here. I wouldn't be able to run the farm like I do without mum, and I wouldn't be able to run the business like I do without dad. But I do miss being a part of like a team of like-minded people working towards a similar goal, whether that is in the farming or whether that's in the development, the software development side. It is starting to get to me. I'm also purposefully not dating or talking to anyone in that way. I had a couple of accidental dates at the beginning of this year, but at the end of last year, which were great. However, it just highlighted to me how incompatible my life is with any of that right now, which all more reason why I've got to get through this. I'm not quite breaking point, because there's a real light at the end of the tunnel, and almost the end of the tunnel is in view rather than it just being a spot. Yeah. If you're still here, I appreciate you. This isn't going to be a fancy video. There aren't going to be any fancy graphics. This is just raw me trying to change the farming industry quietly from my bedroom. Thank you for joining. I'll see you on the next one.